Bank.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to try and keep my remarks contained to the state education, because I already know the scope of this debate has went a bit beyond what I have either expertise or time for, considering the critical and urgent relevance of state education to parents, pupils and the people of Falkirk. I rise in support of removing the VAT exemption on private school fees. When Labour entered government in July, we inherited dire public finances and broken public services, requiring necessary decisions to be taken to renew the foundations of the country. The guiding principle of tax decisions taken in this budget was clear. Those with the broadest shoulders should pay their fair share so that we can invest in our public services. A critical part of this investing in the future is state education. Using my experience before I entered this place as a local authority councillor, through no fault of the brilliant teachers and education officers that deliver state education, local authorities such as SNP control Falkirk Council have looked to reduce teacher numbers, close school swimming pools, cut additional support and even reduce valuable initiatives such as music lessons. The broader trend of council underfunding in Scotland and across the United Kingdom has left schools underfunded, newly qualified teacher posts scarcer and resources overstretched, and councils with very little room for manoeuvre. Tomorrow, at a meeting of Falkirk Council, there will be a proposal on the table to cut learning hours across the Falkirk district, depriving a child educated in Falkirk of a year of learning time across their primary and secondary schooling journey, and leading to the lowest school hours anywhere in Scotland. A proposal I would note myself and the Falkirk Labour Group oppose, and they will vote to take off the table tomorrow. In stark contrast to this crisis in our state education system, spending per pupil in private schools is nearly 90% higher than the state sector as of 22-23. The gap between private school and state school spending per pupil has more than doubled since 2010. For all the chat about this proposal leading to an unworkable hike in fees, opponents of this measure must match their rhetoric to the fact that fees have on average soared by 55% in real terms since 2003 for those who choose to pay for their kids' education. Lifting the VAT exemption on private school fees will raise £1.8 billion annually by 29-30, funding that will and should go directly into state education. This is an essential funding stream that will help relieve the financial pressures on local authorities' education budgets delivered by this UK Labour government. Now, I welcome the Scottish Government's commitment to spend all the consequential funding that will flow from this UK Labour Government's decision on education in Scotland, and I also welcome the tepid, if understated, support by SNP colleagues. I note that, again, nobody's in the chamber if we're going to go down that line. The opposition's position on this measure is predictable but disappointing when they talk about this measure sacrificing aspiration. As someone... I'll give way tomorrow.
Thank you, Chair, and I thank you for giving way, and I apologise for interrupting your flow. But is he surprised that SNP MPs aren't here, given the absolutely shocking record in Scotland on education?
I am absolutely surprised that our SNP colleagues are not here, but again I welcome their eventual and again tepid support during the general election campaign for this measure, something I'm aware in several quarters they've tried to distance themselves from. On the point, as someone who was proudly educated at two Falkirk State schools, Ladeside Primary and Larbert High, I know that 94% of young people in the UK educated at state schools should ever feel like our parents or our teachers lacked aspiration for us. From my conversations with parents, pupils and teachers in Falkirk about their concerns in our state education system, I know that their overwhelming opinion is that we must invest in our state education system as a priority now. In conclusion, if the decision today is billions going into state education annually across the UK, or 1.5 to 1.8 billion for state education less, by maintaining a tax exemption for fee-paying institutions, I know what the people of Falkirk's preference is. Falkirk does not need tax breaks for institutions that largely serve the wealthiest. Falkirk does need well-funded state schools.